Welcome to ChannelWaves, the podcast where channel leaders share success strategies, best practices, and emerging trends, brought to you by Structured Web. Here's your host, Stephen Kellum.
Welcome, everybody, to Structured Web's podcast. It's about everything in the channel, and I'm your host, Stephen Kellum. We really appreciate you joining us. Throughout the year, we're going to bring you information about the channel, information about marketing, things that can help you drive your business and be successful. And we couldn't think of a better place to start with. How does marketing help drive revenue in a down economy? We're going to run a series on this for several weeks. And we're going to start off, and actually I'm very excited to start off with our guest, Jay McBain. I can't think of a better person to talk about the value of marketing automation in a down economy. Welcome, Jay.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm truly excited.
You don't look very excited. There you go. There you go. That's much better. You know, I reached out to Jay specifically for a couple of reasons. One, he knows everybody in the channel and has his pulse on what's going on. And when you look at the world today, in how to drive revenue in a down economy is a big thing, and that's what everyone's talking about. So we're going to kick off a series for several weeks now on how to drive channel revenue in a down economy. And today we're going to start with the importance of automation, in particular channel marketing automation. And I couldn't think of a better guest than Jay McBain. So a couple things, Jay. Normally I would say you don't really need an introduction, but there might be someone out there who hasn't met you, isn't following you. And so maybe you could talk a little bit about, your journey recently and just a little bit about yourself, and then we'll kind of jump into the topic.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been in the channel for 28 years in different aspects on probably every side of the channel. Just jumped over to Canalys, which is actually the world's largest channel-focused analyst firm. So I wake up now with over 100 people in other countries of the world who all they think about are channels and partnerships and alliances and ecosystems. So very exciting for me. And the level of channel marketing information and talent that we have inside the company, on top of what I bring from the past in terms of going deep into TCMA through channel marketing automation, the industry, doing things like reports on stack ranking the best of the best, talking to thousands of clients on how they do it, surveying millions of people in terms of how it works and what are the challenges and things like that. So, I love to talk about this subject.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate you joining us. And listeners, thank you for joining us. We're going to try to have some fun. We might get a little controversial from time to time. I don't know how controversial we're going to get today, but we could figure something out. And we're going to try to have a little fun with this as well. And the format we're going to use moving forward, listeners, is we're going to come up with 3 good questions or 3 ideas. I may make one of the questions may have 4 parts to it, so I may ask Jay for more than three answers. But we're going to kind of keep it simple and kind of get right to the point. So I think the first question is, Jay, what do you see the value of channel marketing automation in today's world, in particular in the down economy?
Yeah, I mean, the benefit of channel marketing obviously is 2 different companies, a vendor and a partner of some way, and a distributor will all be doing their own marketing. If that could be coordinated, if that can be brought together, in other words, that all 3 aren't competing for Google AdWords and paying a higher price because they're bidding up the cost. If there's not 3 unique emails that hit a certain customer's inbox at the exact same time with 3 different sets of language, and just the overall management, monitoring, and measurement of all those different pieces are incredibly important. And we talked a lot about automation and
right.
Being able to do this at scale in a way that's protected in terms of what your brand and your brand guidelines are. And just, from a data perspective, being able to generate, mountains of very useful data to be able to analyze and become more productive, predictive, and prescriptive in how you run your channel organization and how partners work with you at scale.
So let's break that down into partners, right? If I'm a partner, what's the opportunity there? From my perspective, having been a partner before, I would look at this as an opportunity to take market share. I would look at this as an opportunity, if I'm a small or mid-sized partner, to look bigger, to take the digital transformation piece and take marketing automation to the next level and basically win business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a huge revenue aspect to this. And the world is changing. Your buyer is changing pretty significantly, as we all know, in every industry. We know that the partners themselves, again, cross industry, whether you're talking about dealerships or agents or resellers or retailers or whichever example you want to talk about, there's movement there as well. But the world is shifting. The marketing world is shifting. A couple of weeks ago, you had the new MarTech stack that came out, and now it has 9,932 MarTech and ad tech companies on there. So there's a lot of moving pieces. And one of the biggest changes is this hyper-local importance of marketing to, through, and with those partners that have that local voice. And the reason in modern marketing lexicon is companies like Google, companies like Facebook or Meta now, all of the kind of the marketing engines are all hyper-local. They assume, regardless of what you want to do as a consumer, they assume you want kind of like an oil change, and they're only going to give you results for within 5 miles of where you're doing that search or where you're having that conversation. So all the big vendors that are trying to do this internationally and stuff get lost off of page one. And it's literally your local partner that's within 5 miles of that conversation or search is the one that's winning. So this is where, the world's changing, and vendors have to get smarter, and distributors supporting them have to get smarter in terms of how to execute that local marketing much better than they have in the past.
Through channel marketing automation has been around for a while. The structured web been focused on the enterprise since 2016, seeing tremendous growth. But Jay, there's still partners who haven't adopted it or don't see the value or haven't engaged with it. What are they afraid? Do you think they don't have the resources? What do you think the reason behind why partners wouldn't just jump on this bandwagon? I look back on myself and I would go, if someone could have brought me something like that to help me efficiently market, I would have jumped all over it.
Yeah, so we actually asked the question, and the answer is 66% of partners cross industry, and you can look at any kind of third party partner you may have. 66% of them fall into the category of do it for me or do it on behalf of me. Two slightly different riffs on it, but 2/3 of your audience either don't have the time, they don't have the skill, don't have the resources or money, they don't have the and in many cases, they just don't have the belief. They may have built their business for decades themselves on word of mouth. They don't need fancy email and social and search and syndicated content, and they don't need all these, fancy tools because they've always done it on their own. And you mentioned the economy. We're going through some significant macroeconomic challenges hitting us, from all different angles. And most partners now are at that point that maybe I can't do it, the way that I've done it in the past. Maybe this word of mouth, now that within 4 years, my majority customer is turning into a millennial. These are digital natives that don't go through that early journey of buying something in the same way they did before. So, perhaps they're coming to this, conclusion that they do need help and they just don't know how. And that's why TCMA has always been somewhat partnered up with services, with concierge, like white glove services, with some kinds of back-end creative to backfill that 2/3 of partners who, either don't have the time, money, or belief that they ought to be doing it.
Yeah, but I think I believe if they look at this today, there's such a great opportunity to take advantage of something like that. One, as you said, the world has changed quite a bit on who their buyer is. And I think the people who adopt that and embrace it and work with it are gonna take business, because I think it's their buyers, as you said, are changing, and how they want to buy is completely different.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do vendors make this work then? How do TCMA works for partners if they'll adopt it, if they'll engage, and if they'll do it? So how do vendors make that work? How do vendors come in and sell that sell, right? What advice could we give to vendors to do that. Daniel Neeson, who's the founder here, created this 5 C's where he's talking about the ability to create, connect, communicate, convert, and then calculate, right? And ways for vendors to think about how they engage with those partners. What do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, vendors have to kind of look at two parts of their channel. And if you could say that 1/3 of the channel that does prefer the self-service, they have a strong belief in marketing, they may have a dedicated marketing team if it's a larger partner. You've got to serve them with the best, most powerful tools possible. Their teams may have used in the past, like the Marketos or Eloquas or Pardots or HubSpots of the world for their direct marketing. And having that power within your through channel marketing platform and being able to deliver at that same level of point and click and drag and drop, and having the rules engines and the no code, low code ways of doing this. This is a big benefit to those 1/3 of partners. For the 2/3, though, you've got to figure out what that play is how can you either invite them in to this very easy to use, easy to deploy, almost set it and forget it type of platform, or how can you nudge them and give them maybe a little bit of a human assist, to doing that. And if you can strike both of those parallel swim lanes, you're going to have a lot of success driving revenue, driving pipeline, driving customer retention, using these tools.
And when you say nudge, I think there are a couple ways to look at that. I come from an incentive background. Maybe we can kind of jump into that. How does TCMA play in the ecosystem, right? You got the PRM where they come in, and then you got the TCMA. But I think when you say nudge, I think, how do we use MDF dollars effectively in something like this? How do we use rewards for behavior modification to get partners to start to do a little bit of a digital transformation and actually learn, execute, and measure, right? I think that's the beginning. We'll talk about a little later, beginning of a marketing certification program.
Yeah, so you mentioned the word ecosystems. Like, one of the biggest changes happening for pretty well every listener as they think about their channel, it is so much more than that transacting resale-based channel. I haven't met a vendor in months that has recruiting a bunch more resellers as one of their top 10 list. The fact of the matter is, in ecosystem, we know a lot more about buyers. We know a lot more about their journey, and all of that knowledge now actually benefits channel marketing automation, because we know that buyer goes through 28 individual unique moments before making vendor selection. We know the best direct marketing teams on the planet. Even if your partner's large, fortune sized, and has a great direct marketing team, they may only get into 3 or 4 of those moments. And we're in a post-cookie world, which is another major change in channel marketing automation. Sure. Where in the past, I mentioned the 9,000 MarTech or AdTech tools you could buy, which basically take privacy data, because on the internet, you're the product. But in the end of cookie, which Apple has already implemented and Google is just implementing, they have 99% mobile share between them. They have 86% desktop browsing share. At the end of the cookie, there's going to be no information available to vendors through any tool of what those 28 moments are and what you're doing in between those moments. So directionally, it becomes a channel problem. It becomes a partnership opportunity to go make partnerships, say, with those 24 owners of those moments. And so that might be an ebook, it might be an event, it could be an association. There's all kinds of 30 different things it could be. But in these moments, and that moment owner, if it could be delivered through a structured web, it means that the quality of that moment increases. The 5 C's you just went through, but the measurement, the monitoring, and the management of those moments. And so if I have a partnership person in that marketing conversation and they say, hey, I can go find 10 more moments, and we've got four of them draft, that means we're at 14 now. We've actually got line of sight to an incentives perspective to start paying for the point of value instead of paying at the point of sale. The problem with MDF and the problem with all channel incentives for 40 years now is they've all been paid out in gross to nets at that point of sale. You pay a front end margin, you pay a bunch of back end margin, bonuses, rebates, commissions, spiffs, etc. Well, in this world now of, first of all, the buying is changing in terms of how much is bought through resale versus marketplaces versus direct. And that's changing significantly in the subscription consumption world. But in those moments, if you can actually work together and see those moments, experience those moments, share the data, and be able to attribute those moments and know what that ebook led to in terms of your chance of winning the deal. At the point of sale, what ends up happening is you overpay half your partners who may have shown up late, not done the marketing, not done the sales, not done the engineering, and they pick up the order. And you hear those complaints from your direct sales reps who might have done more of the work. Where you never hear is those partners that did everything and you won a deal in your sleep. Your direct reps don't complain about that because they were never involved. And now you're underpaying that partner who's closing deals in your sleep. And so just this problem with paying at the point of sale, and where almost every company I talk to now is looking to pay at the point of value. And if I could use a channel marketing automation platform, if I can understand those moments, if I can see more of them, it changes everything. And in a subscription consumption model now, that point of sale is the first 30 days with the customer. While still important, it's about 1/3 the importance that it used to be. So paying all the money there doesn't make sense. If I could pay 1/3 of the dollars before the point of sale and use a platform, a channel marketing automation platform to do that, if I could pay for transaction assist, so you don't even have to collect the customer's money. In a marketplace example, 24% of marketplace activity and actual deals closed, the buy button pressed, is done by a third party. So if I can start paying for transaction assist or partner assist during even a direct deal, and it doesn't rely on that partner taking the customer's money, that's the second stage of this. The third stage is when the fun starts, is every 30 days forever. Now you have a customer for life. Your business, there's a 76% chance your business, your CEO and board are taking you into a subscription consumption model. And now you need to drive adoption and you need to pay for that point of value. You need to drive stickiness and deeper integration or habit forming. You got to pay for those moments. And then you've got to drive upsell, cross-sell, and enrichment. Because guess what? Your target, your retention target is 108%. For every customer you lose, you got to go double up a current customer. And so marketing now isn't a pre-sales activity. It's a pre, during, and post-sales activity. It actually touches your customer for the lifetime of the customer, and your ability to automate that and have a window into that on a day in and day out basis, becomes not a nice to have. It just becomes an absolute need to have in the tech stack, as well as your channel tech stack.
No, look, I totally agree. We just wrote a white paper called "Why is Now the Time to Stop Chasing New Logos Only?" Right, and it's all about exactly what you're talking about, and how do we get partners to market to their existing base, because there's cross-sell, there's upsell, and then for the vendors, there's an opportunity to actually get a new logo for them, even though it's an existing logo for the partner. So I think it all ties in, and we're seeing a big shift on that. So my question to you is, how do vendors get partners to start to engage on this? I mentioned the marketing certification program, and I've had interesting conversations with Jay with vendors about, how far down the path do they have to go? What do they really have to do for partners? And I said, well, it depends on what you want them to do, right? In a traditional marketing certification program was, I reward a partner for learning about what marketing skills they need to do, for executing, trying to run some campaigns, for measuring them. But I do think the interesting piece, what you talked about, is now a marketing certification is to continue to keep doing those things, and particularly on the subscription program. And interestingly enough, I asked several vendors when I was talking to them about, do you run a marketing certification program? And several said, yes, we do. And then they came back and said, well, we don't actually run a certification for this. We don't really do it like we would product or like we would do sales certifications. And I think it's kind of interesting where marketing, to me, could be the hugest differentiator at the beginning, the middle, and the end of the sale. but there's a reluctance to call it a certification, to put those rewards behind it, and they're still stuck in product and sales certifications. I don't understand why they wouldn't look at them all as being equal. Or maybe
Yeah,
this is even more important.
Yeah, the big change is happening now. And, again, for 40 years, we ran very resale focused programs, based on gross to net type incentives. We, looked at that point of sale as everything. When you take the walk back, the ecosystem soliloquy I just had, when you take a step back from that and you look at the different points of value you can pay on instead of the point of sale, the marketing certification, the marketing points of value, there is sales points of value, there's product and technical points of value. But if you convert a gold, silver, bronze reseller anchored program and move it over into a point system, and the first big company did it, which was Microsoft earlier this year. And you'll notice that in their algorithm to make 70 points, which is their new gold standard, which they don't call it gold anymore, but to make that 70, it's very difficult to do that as a reseller. And they started to break out some of these certification programs, and they started to look at these points of value. And by the way, they put about 2/3 of the points post-sale.
Right.
So this whole point about Microsoft getting a customer for life, they're putting their money where their mouth is. And they're starting to spread that, was once the point of sale, they're spreading those dollars like peanut butter. And smart partners are picking up on these different certification programs, picking up on this idea that the more of our activity that is visible to Microsoft and we can earn points for, the more money we're going to make programmatically, but the more visibility we're going to gain within that huge ecosystem. There's 400 new partners joining every day. How do we get differentiation in such a big universe? Well, these are the kind of places. Marketing certification programs is one of those areas that we can really drive points. We can really drive value for the customer. And Microsoft, in this case, is going to reward us for that.
Okay. Final thought on this. Last thought, maybe perhaps a prognostication. How do you see channel marketing automation or channel automation in general playing out in companies with different routes to market, right? You mentioned subscription. We can talk about PLG. We can talk about automation. Does it play out the same in all these route to market and different sort of vendors?
Yeah. So the future of this, I think, is number one, there's not product partner types anymore. You don't have an MSP, marketing certification, channel automation plan, and then move that to be different for VARs, SIs, ISVs. There's 20 different kinds of partners. Companies are starting to move now into swim lanes, into different motions or roles the partners play. It could be more of a technology alliance, co-innovation, value creation, network effects, strategic and business alliances are 2 more swim lanes. This influencer style channel that we just talked about, the 28 moments, the retention style channel every 30 days forever, and the transaction and transaction assist channels. So, many companies, over a dozen companies now have an ecosystem chief that are running against those 6 swim lanes. They're hiring 6 vice presidents to run after them. One of them would have been that channel chief of days gone by. And of those 6, it's 6 different conversations for structured web and for everyone in the channel marketing automation industry. You're having 6 different conversations. How do I market to, through, and with a technology alliance, like an embedded technology, like an IoT company or an ISV? How do I work with an Accenture who has 700,000 people and a marketing department that will make yours as a vendor look like shame? How do I work with an affiliate, an ambassador, and an advocate, an affinity style partner, an influencer who doesn't care about anything else? And it could be just a small referral fee or nothing. It could be a baseball cap and a leather seat at the front row of your event. How do I care about these every 30 days forever? These integrators, implementers, installers, security type, compliance type folks, legal type folks. How do I care about all these rest? And it's all by roles. And you're going to have 6 different conversations about channel marketing with 6 different people with 6 different KPIs. And that's the future of where this industry is going.
Okay. Jay, thank you. Really appreciate you taking some time with us today, especially on our inaugural event. Very cool to have you. great data as always. And I appreciate the branding, the black and the red, very apropos. So part of this is about learning, part of this is about getting connected. So if anyone out there isn't connected with you, what's the best way to make that happen?
Well, I think I'm everywhere. So if you want to hit me up on social media or send me an email, all my information is out there. Happy to answer any questions or drop any numbers. But as we started off, this is truly exciting. It really is a change in this industry after decades. And I think the conversations going forward are pretty exciting conversations.
Great. Thanks for joining us. Hey, listeners, thank you for listening. We really appreciate it.